we'll call the ACA about their part.
And see if we can pull that off. Good deal.
So we'll come back and revisit.
Hi, young ladies. How are we doing?
Cool.
I'm doing good.
All right. So it's just a minor setback.
It actually, and I want to have time, we'll get together, but it's actually led to a better project.
Okay, so
The EDA saying create a bigger project.
yeah,
Led to us talking to Unisource about running a gas line out there.
yeah.
And now we've got something we really want to talk to ACA about.
Yeah.
This isn't just water and sewer, but this is gas.
This is good. Excellent.
So we're working with GPREP on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I'll come down and do that. Okay. How are we doing? Excellent.
Stand over here, hold the flag and all that, do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you want to call me, like 2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes.
Well, it would take us 10, but we might do it. We can see about doing this.
Hey, you made it. Is something, isn't it?
I was hoping it was,
Okay.
at least it was nice on Sunday.
Yeah, it was beautiful Sunday. Little breezy today. Yeah.
Well, hi, young lady.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Oh,
You're our 23rd customer. You get a free bottle of wine. Yeah. Cool.
I knew it was going to be a bad meeting, so I wanted to stop.
Hey, these are really pretty. Elizabeth came up and sat down because I told her, why don't you sit in the mayor's chair? She got to hit the gavel and she goes, give me the flowers. And her mom goes, yeah, they're going to present them to someone later on. And she goes, oh, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, they look nice. That's it. Yeah, right behind us.
yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Good morning, Mike. It's always morning in Chino. Good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, it is. This is all white.
Something little brandy won't hurt. How's Mike tonight?
Michael was okay. We had a good meeting on the Old Home Management. On the what? Old Home Management over today. And I think we got some people that are going to step up and do something.
How you doing? Step up and do something.
Minchie. Hey, what's your face? I didn't want to go there. Yeah, me too. You can never tell. Where are you? Oh boy.
My father's.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So what have you been up to? I don't see you around town.
Oh, that corn? Jar hands? I'm eating with you. Sailor Marine War is going on here. Oh, God. There's a bar fight, Marine sailors and Marines. Sailors and Marines kick the crap out of them.
I'd be saying something, Chino. I'd go out lying again.
Back? People coming. What'd you do to your back? You were kind of limping when you came in.
Oh, I have a really bad back injury.
Yeah.
I have a herniated thoracic surgery. It's just implants. It causes me to limp. In the upper back, they're like, it's really high, so I get into paralyzed. They said they never cured that. And I do tend to limp. Sometimes I don't even realize it. It's like lean forward and I somebody says,
No candy tonight?
Well, I understood you were bringing pie, so I didn't bring any. We're waiting for
We got a
you.
big pie back there.
We're waiting for your birthday.
There's enough pie. That pan is big enough you can swim in it.
Looks good.
Did you see it? Banana cream. But it's in like a cake.
Mayor Marley to the stand, please.
Thank you, Chief.
Once you get out of control.
All right, excellent. Are you good with doing the prayer? team?
Sure.
All right. Could everyone please take a seat? We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please rise and remove your hats for the invocation.
Heavenly Father, bless this group this evening. Gathered here to do the business of the town. Help us make those decisions that help our citizens and help the town. Watch over our families. Make sure they're home and safe. Look over our military folks that are overseas in those strange places. Bring them home safely. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Miss Lewis, may we have the roll call?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Councilmember McKee.
Here.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Wojcik.
Here.
Councilmember Hatch.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft.
Here.
And Mayor Marley.
Here. Introductions, presentations, and proclamations. The first introduction is the presentation of a certificate of recognition to Elizabeth Vickery, Arizona's Miss Amazing Preteen Queen of 2014. And I'd like to just take a moment and read the write-up in our agenda, in our staff report. It says, Chino Valley resident Elizabeth Vickery, age 11, a Mingus Springs Charter School 5th grade student, competed in the Arizona Miss Amazing pageant in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 29th. She won her division, earning the title Arizona Miss Amazing Preteen Queen 2014. Elizabeth participated in an interview and onstage introduction, talent performance, and evening gown competition. For her talent, she performed a tall flag twirling routine set to the song Watch Me by Zendaya and Bella Thorne. Elizabeth will now go on to the national pageant in Omaha, Nebraska in August. And before I come down and present this certificate, I wanted to let you know I got a preview of tomorrow's newspaper, and her picture's up here at the top, and if you've got some paint, you can paint over the guy next to her, and it'll be a real nice picture. Elizabeth, if you would, please come forward. This certificate is awarded to Elizabeth Vickery, Arizona Miss Amazing Preteen Queen 2014. From the Mayor, Chris Marley, and on behalf of the town of Chino Valley, I'd like to give you these flowers. All right. Would you like to say anything? This is, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This is the only time my wife lets me give flowers to any other ladies. Thank you, Elizabeth. Our next item is the introduction of the Business Appreciation Program and recognition of new and existing businesses. Ms. Watts?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In partnership with the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, the town is started a business appreciation program, and we're going to be sending out we did send out letters to the new businesses the first 2 months of this year and invited them to come and give 90 seconds to talk about their business and meet their leaders. We're also going to recognize a long-standing business. So I'm just introducing the program, but Tracy's going to take it. We'll do this every couple months and have the new businesses here.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cecilia. Good evening, Mayor Council. Tracy Shimikowski, President and CEO for the Chino Valley Area Chamber of Commerce. The 4 businesses that we would like to recognize for the months of January and February are brand new businesses to Chino Valley. And if they're in the audience tonight, please come forward and I'll turn the mic over to you for your 90 seconds of information about your business. The Storage Auction Store, Copper Jacket LLC, Statuesque, and Gifts for Her. No folks tonight from those 4 businesses? Well, we welcome them to the community. I think this is really great. We've got new businesses coming in, and that's encouraging. Our long-standing business we'd like to recognize tonight is Circle C Construction. Harper & Son Development, Inc., doing business as Circle C Construction, represents 3 generations of builders in Yavapai County since 1984. Chuck Harper, President, Debbie Harper, Vice President and Secretary, and Josh Harper, Vice President, Production, were born and raised in Prescott area. They love calling Chino Valley their home. Their company is familiar with flood zones, hillside lots, alternate septic systems, solar, and other building logistics and products. They are a company committed to working with businesses and families to produce their concept with quality and integrity. Circle C Construction is licensed and bonded for commercial and residential projects. They also do remodeling and tenant improvements. They have the ability to customize any project to fit their customers' needs. They are also dealers for pre-engineered steel buildings. They can help you design your custom home or commercial project. They are members of Yavapai County Contractors Association, Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce for 9 years, and the Arizona Better Business Bureau. So welcome Chuck Harper and Debbie Harper. Come on up. I'm going to turn the phone. I'm going to turn the phone over to you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And you have a gift here. Oh. Certificate of recognition. All right. Excellent.
The inscription on the bottle of wine is, "Thank you for many years of service to the community of Chino Valley. We are grateful for your business. Mayor Chris Marley, the Town Council, and the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce."
Where's my ball?
We have several council members who want their bottle of wine here later. All right, wine tasting bottles. All right. Continuing onward. Our item C is a proclamation declaring May 1st through 7th, 2014 as Youth Week, sponsored by the Chino Valley Elks Lodge, number 2842. Do we have folks from the Elks here? If you would, please come forward.
These are all gated to take pictures. But Selena can take pictures too.
Whereas the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks has designated the first week in May as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their services to community, state, and nation. And whereas the Chino Valley Elks Lodge number 2842 will sponsor an observance during that week in tribute to the junior citizens of this community. And whereas no event could be more deserving of our support and participation than one dedicated to these young people who represent the nation's greatest resource and who in the years ahead will assume the responsibility for the advancement of our free society. And whereas our youth need the guidance, inspiration, and encouragement which we alone can give in order to help develop those qualities of character essential for future leadership and go forth to serve America. And whereas to achieve this worthy objective, we should demonstrate our partnership with youth, our understanding of their hopes and aspirations, and a sincere willingness to help prepare them in every way for the responsibilities and opportunities of citizenship. Now therefore I, Chris Marley, Mayor of the town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim the first week in May as Youth Week in Chino Valley, Arizona, and urge all departments of government, civic, fraternal, and patriotic groups, and our citizens generally, to participate wholeheartedly in its observance.
I'll just say a quick thing about the Elks. We're here for the youth of the community. A couple of the things that we do throughout the year, we give out dictionaries to all the third graders in the community. We take needy children Christmas shopping, and we do a great hoop shoot that kids have a lot of fun with and can advance on and win prizes, and we give out many scholarships as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3 is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Total time for call to the public maybe up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak at call to the public? Okay, if we have no one for call to the public is now closed. Response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. And I believe we have Mr. Gripman here. We had a question regarding the final costs associated with the Road 4 South construction project.
Liz, can you bring up that PowerPoint? All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. At the last council meeting, Mr. Edmonds asked that we give a brief summary on what we did on 4 South, how much it costs, all the other stuff. The list, this is what Mr. Edmonds asked, and I tried to answer his questions in the order that he's gotten them here. So total cost for all equipment. Phase 1 was $25,000. Phase 2 was $28,000. Total cost of fuel, $7,000. It was even across both of the two phases. Total cost of man hours. I just did an estimate off of what an average salary for what my guys, earn and the amount of time that they were out there working on it. It's approximately $29,000. Total cost of all subs. $99,000 on phase 1, $155,000. Basically, everybody who was out on the job was a sub, because the town was the one outside of our employees. Everything else was a sub. Total cost of all materials, we spent $29,000 on phase 1, $30,000 on phase 2. That is just the road materials. I didn't include drainage and all the other stuff as part of materials. I just looked at just the AB itself. That's how much it cost. Total cost to move the power lines, that part of the project was only part of phase 2. It's $60,000, and to date, APS still has not sent us an invoice, so we haven't paid them anything yet. But as soon as they send us the invoice, we will pay them. We did send them one kind of inquiry saying, where's this invoice at? And I'm not going to send a second one. So if they can't figure out how to invoice us, oh well. Who did the inspections? The town, our inspector was on the equipment. Kurt Morrell is our inspector, and he was the one running the D8. So the town people were the ones, we did our own inspections. We didn't do normal daily inspection reports like a normal project is, because we were the ones building it. ETC was the company that came out and did all of the testing. And I've got samples of what the test results were. The total cost of the project, $137,000 for phase 1, $194,000 for phase 2, and it was completed in March. Here's the test results. 95% compaction is the standard. We were at 95 and 96 across the board. Here's the second set for phase 2. And it's kind of a cumbersome way to look at the overall project in that fashion, and I was just trying to answer the questions that Mr. Edmonds had put forth. So we put together this summary here. There's a little bit clearer on including everything, engineering, design, all of it. The miscellaneous section, we needed to go out and buy some fence material to make gates over the Peavine Trail. So that's where miscellaneous stuff. We just didn't know where to categorize some of that stuff. You can see Civil Tech's design in there, construction staking. Arrowhead was the material supplier. Echo was one of the equipment suppliers. ETC is the one who did the testing. Sun State, also an equipment supplier. Contech is the one that supplied all of the drainage material. And if you notice, there's a 12-foot diameter pipe that is now underneath 4 South that was constructed to allow the cattle to move at the request of Deep Well Ranch. Setting a 12-foot diameter pipe is not an easy task, and it requires some rather interesting, the guys just did an amazing job getting this thing built. Arizona Highway Safety Specialists, those are the ones who did the guardrail. United Rentals, another materials, or another rental supplier. Bennett Oil, they did all the fuel. CNR Trucking did all the hauling. And we just had barricades and signs of $1,100 under both of the two phases. When we go out to normal bidding practices, we have a set of plans, finished, finalized set of construction documents, specifications. Phyllis buys off on it, and it usually is a document about this thick that comes to you guys. My guys built this specifically with a good set of plans, but they were only about 30–40% plans. And the engineers, Civil Tech, they were coming out regularly and making sure what we're building is in accordance with what their design is. Because we move things around a little bit, as you always do, anytime you do any construction. But under a normal bidding process, we've estimated this project around $550,000 at what it would have cost. The total for this whole project, both phases, was way under that. What my guys did saved this town $226,000. The public works crews are just a tremendous bunch of guys, and there's even one guy in here who's from utilities, and I want to give all the guys a major shout out for what they've done for this town. Kurt Morrell is our engineering inspector. Mark Isa, he works in public works. Bill Butts, also in public works. Robert Myers, Paul Smith, Brandon De La Huerta, James Clubb, and Roger Strader. He's actually, you've met Roger before. He's our citizen soldier. And the Army has taught him a lot about moving equipment. And he is the one who ran the scraper the whole time that we were doing this project. And he's actually in our utilities division. So we moved him over just to make sure that this project got done quickly. And Richard Straub, who Richard just has a great relationship with the guys and kind of field constructed the whole thing with the guys. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Actually, no, that was what was requested, was a list of the costs. Thank you very much.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. And you are available if folks do have questions
Absolutely.
later.
Just call
Okay.
Public Works, 636-7140, or, and Mr. Edmonds, if you'd like a copy of this, I can give you a copy of the whole presentation.
Okay, good. Thank
Okay.
you. You answered the question. Appreciate it. Current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. Before we do items A through D, do any of our council members have anything? Ms. Hatch, you and I were at a NACOG meeting. Did you want to report on that, or?
The small one or the big one?
The partnership one?
I could, you could report on that too.
Oh, okay.
I've been to several NACOG meetings in the last week. It seems to take a lot of time. I'm a member of their Economic Development Planning Committee. Their strategic plan for the next 5 years, and that was an all-day meeting. It's going to continue for the next 6 or 7 months, series of meetings. And there were presentations by all the different areas, all the different experts as to what they wanted to see in the NACOG plan. If it's not in there, the EDA is not going to fund it. And that's where we're hoping to get our grant for the industrial park infrastructure. And so rural development from the ACC presented. Keith Watkins made some statements which we were not really in agreement with. He was stating the kinds of things that they're planning to fund in the future. We had to make a point to ask that if infrastructure was included. Certainly our concern was infrastructure. So we need to make sure that that is in the next plan.
You bet.
But there were a series of presentations, some on education, some on wineries, a whole list of things. The other location that Chris and I went to was an invitation-only meeting. It was celebrating a fairly large joint grant. And they have funded, the Fed's Department of Agriculture has funded some business centers that probably we weren't aware of. Some of them are mobile business centers that move around. And in conjunction with those, there are some brick and mortar places that are allowed to be used by businesses here in the area for things like conferences and such, where you don't have a location in your own facility. And the kinds of advice and help that they're giving to the public was included in that consulting grant. Also, there's a segment of it that's broadband. NACOG is the organization that got the grant from the state to begin looking at statewide broadband service. They're doing a multitude of things. They aren't the only ones that are on broadband service, but they are one of many. Did that cover everything, or did you want me to go into any more?
Oh, this was a real, I thought a real.
All right, ACC, yeah, Arizona is #1 in future job growth, according to Forbes magazine. That was also brought up. We're hoping that Chino Valley is part of that. We have a number of positions with NACOG now that we're beginning to ask people in Chino Valley if they will volunteer time for. One of those is the audit committee. They have an opening, and Joe Duffy, our finance director, has now applied for a volunteer position on the audit committee. And as positions come up, I believe on the tourism committee, we're about to have a representative. Our Chamber of Commerce, Tracy, is going to, in the process of putting her application in. So we're trying to work on all areas and trying to get the town more involved so we're more visible and have a little bit more opportunity to be seen.
Okay, thank you. Any others on this side of the council? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, for the benefit of the council, the MEC is meeting on Monday to review with the judge all of those reviews that we got from the public and the departments. And then we'll be looking for an executive session with the council to go over them.
Excellent, excellent. Any others on this side? No. Any on this side? Did you want to report anything on the Old Home Manor Rec Committee, Lon? Or?
That we just been doing?
Yeah, that we just.
Okay. We've had 2 meetings now with the Mayor's Ad Hoc Committee as far as Old Home Manor, recreation possibilities, so on and so forth. We're in the process right now of writing up a contract with it's called the Sportsman's Club, correct?
Prescott Sportsman's Club.
Prescott Sportsman's Club for operations at the gun range. And Prescott College has been approached with a long-time lease that they've had out at Old Home Manor that they are really no longer using. And they've been very friendly with that, as far as I understand, and are willing to give that up so that we can make plans to do something different with it. And it can fall into the major plan. Ideas are an RV park to support some of the other activities that may go on out there in the future. And have some folks that are very interested in looking at the aquatic center out there again, or not aquatic center, the equestrian facility out there for rodeo activities and things like that. So that's pretty exciting also. And we'll continue on that. Should be more reporting pretty much on a monthly basis.
Excellent, thank you. Any others from this side? No? Okay. Thank you for reporting on that. I've got so many other things that I need to report on it. Folks need to hear other voices here.
Okay.
Status and membership report regarding the SR 89 Utility Project Citizen Committee. I believe council members Best and Turner have chosen 2 new members. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, we have.
Would you announce what who your member is? for
Okay,
the
my
time?
member is Corey Mendoza, and I believe you did Scott.
Yes, our new fire chief.
Okay, Scott Freitag. Excellent. Item B, report regarding the general plan public hearing before council on May 13th, 2014. We will be having a study session on April the 29th, and we need to be sure, I want to remind our council to be sure and bring their copy of the general plan for the general plan study session for April 29th. And also May the 13th, when that public hearing takes place for the general plan, May the 13th will be a busy evening because that one we should also be hearing from our bond committee also. So we'll have a full docket that evening if Councilmember Best feels up to bringing some candy bars for that.
We can do that.
All right, thank you. Status report, item C is status report and presentation regarding HB 2826 related to consolidated elections. Ms. Lewis, you're up.
Good evening again, Mayor Marley and Council. It's been a while since I've updated you on HB 2826. And let's see, we'll go to the next slide. Just briefly tonight, we're going to talk about the current status, which is very brief. We're going to talk a little bit about some new election changes coming up that you'll see in August and November of the general elections coming up. And then some changes from a voting perspective for how you and the citizens, what's going to change for them as voters. And then we'll just briefly give you a preview of what we're going to discuss later on in the meeting, all of the changes that we're going to be hopefully adopting tonight. Also present with us are Leslie Hoffman, our county recorder, and Lynn Constabile, our elections director, who will be thrilled to answer any questions that you have at the end of this presentation. Right? Thrilled ladies, right? Well, as you know, HB 2826, approved in 2012 by the legislature, provides that all candidate or general elections must now be held in the fall of even-numbered years starting this year. Of course, this doesn't specifically affect us because we're not going to have an election this year. Because, well, we'll find out. This law does not apply to special elections such as initiatives, referendums, recalls, filling council vacancies, zoning, tax issues, and special district elections. In 2013, while all our elections had been held in the spring of odd-numbered years, this does affect your terms, the terms of our sitting mayor and council. And in 2013, the legislature adopted conforming measures to address the conflict that was there. And what ended up coming out of that 2013 amendment was that we had no option to shorten your terms. So by default, you get an extra 18 months tagged onto your service on the council, which may end up being a good thing. Let's see. Okay. As a result of the new consolidation law, several election processes are going to change. We contract with Yavapai County for elections programming services, and such changes will affect our processes as well. One change is going to be, you'll be seeing a new contract with the county coming in June-ish. And one thing the county has asked for as part of the new contract or before entering into the contract is some sort of official notice that we are going to lengthen your terms. While legally we do not need a resolution, from the clerk's office perspective and records management, we just prefer to memorialize big events like this through a resolution. So that we'll be seeing that later on in tonight's agenda. Now, as far as our contract with the county, they provide a lot of things that we could not do ourselves. Well, we could do it, but it would take another 2 or 3 staff members and a lot of extra money. So we're really happy to do this with the county. This is a list of some of the things they provide for us. These are some of the services, and rather than read them all off, if there's, as you're glancing at it, if you see anything that you have a question about, you can ask the ladies at the end. And they also provide these things, recounts and outreach. The one thing I do want to point out is that our county personnel are really active and passionate about helping citizens vote. And they have a traveling mock election program that they take to schools, clubs, HOAs, whoever asks, really. And they educate that group of people on the voting process in a fun and interactive way. This has been especially effective in high schools in preparing juniors and seniors for their first voting experience. So I would encourage any civic groups out there or other kinds of groups that are interested in that to contact the county and set up a date. Okay, this is how it's going to affect us. Our contract with the county is going to change because right now our contract stipulates that all of our candidate elections are going to be vote by mail. That's going to have to change. As our candidate elections will now be consolidated with county, state, and federal ballot, those elections cannot be held by vote by mail. We will have polling place elections, which are by nature more expensive. Therefore, we anticipate that the fees we pay to the county for election services will increase. Exactly how much remains to be seen. However, our county recorder and election staff have been diligent to find cost-cutting measures for themselves as well as all of the jurisdictions that they serve. They're restructuring their fee schedule to spread the cost as much as possible and provide a not-to-exceed amount. The proposed new fee schedule will be going to the Board of Supervisors in May, and the adopted schedule will be part of our new contract. Currently, a vote-by-mail election program by the county, our last year election, cost us $1.95 per registered voter. The actual fee is $2.25, but the county does apply a discount for entities that are willing to use their resources to assist with election-related issues, and we're always ready to jump in to help with that. For example, we assisted voters in the county during last year's November election, even though we didn't have anything on the ballot. We currently provide all the services that they grant the discount for, and except a new one, which is to provide training facilities, and I don't see any problem with assisting with that either. Okay, now how is this going to affect you as voters? First of all, something that is, this is the one thing I'm kind of unsure about, so if you have questions, you can ask the ladies. There are 2 voter registration forms. The federal government doesn't quite recognize our requirement for people to show proof of ID. So there's a separate voter registration form that a person can fill out. That's a federal form, but it only allows them to vote on the federal ballot. So if somebody wants to vote federal but not vote for our things and the county things, they have the option to do that. And then again, no vote-by-mail elections can be offered during even-numbered fall elections. Right now, I know the county is working hard to change that. They presented a request to allow to submit a request to the legislature to give counties the option to hold vote-by-mail elections, but the Supervisors Association basically said no way, but they're going to keep trying. So hopefully we may get that back. Some other changes you'll notice is longer ballots. With town measures and candidates being on the same ballot as county, state, and federal issues, it's going to be longer. Voter turnout may be negatively impacted, especially in the primaries. Well, we'll have to see how that pans out this year. The election's final results will no longer be available as quickly as previously. Preliminary results will be posted on the county website by 8 o'clock on election night, but those numbers will primarily reflect the early vote count and not necessarily the counts taken on election day. Final results could take up to a week because of all of the things on the same ballot. And because of this, your canvass documents, the resolution that you adopt, where you adopt the results of the election, could take up to 2 weeks to prepare. By law, you have 6 to 20 days to do that, but if it ends up taking 2 weeks, we may miss your next council meeting, so you may have to call a special meeting just to adopt that resolution. But again, we're going to see how that all pans out. This next election is our big test case. Okay. Other changes that the voters will notice relate to some cost-saving measures instituted by the county. All voters will be getting a new ID card, and they'll be assigned to a new precinct with new names. Because so many of the county's voters participate in early voting, the county was able to reduce the number of precincts. Chino Valley had 7, we now have 2. And all the precincts have one-word names. So no longer do you have to remember, am I Chino Valley 1, Chino Valley 2, it's just a single word, so that'll be easier. And the County Board of Supervisors also just approved some new voting equipment. So polling place voters will see those changes too. And the town will continue to be responsible for locking the ballot drop box on election night, so county workers can focus on wrap-up at the vote centers. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up is the vote centers. There are going to be new procedures there. The nice thing about vote centers is even though it's a polling place, the vote center allows any voter in Yavapai County to vote at any other vote center in Yavapai County. So if you work in Chino Valley, live in Chino Valley, but work in Camp Verde, you can vote in Camp Verde. The county went to this several years ago, and from everything I've heard, it's been a big hit. So come the first week of May, be looking for a packet in the mail from the county that will have your new voter registration card. It'll have your new precinct and probably procedural explanations of where to go, how to do it, when to do it, and probably an invitation to join up to the early voting list if you haven't done so already. So make sure that when everybody gets that packet, not to throw it away. Hold on to it until the election because it'll have all the instructions they need. And last but not least, we're going to have to change some things here as far as our codes are concerned. So coming up later in the meeting, we'll be talking about some code changes. We'll be adopting a resolution that officially lengthens your terms or recognizes that your terms are lengthened. And then we'll be changing your financial disclosure resolution. So are there any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I know some of these were answered the other night.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it, but it is, when you say no mail-in ballots, of course, those don't include the people who have signed up for the permanent early
voting,
voter
yes.
registration.
Yes.
And again, what percentage of the voters are early registered voters to vote by mail, and how many of those people actually do vote by mail?
If I remember the numbers correctly, it was about 75% who were registered.
66% are on the people, the permanent early voting.
Uh-huh.
And when we have an election, about 75% actually vote by mail or early and 25% vote.
Okay. I had the numbers backwards.
That's 75% of the early voters?
75% of the whole.
All voters.
Everybody that votes.
Uh-huh.
Votes either by mail or early in person.
Okay.
And about 25% of those that vote go to the polls.
Okay.
'Cause
so
even if
only
you're not,
25%.
even if you're not on that permanent list, you can still call and request an early ballot for any election. Okay, yes.
And so, when we get this new packet, people won't have to re-register for early ballot, or they will? Okay.
Now, if they're on the permanent list, they're on the permanent list.
So if they're on the permanent list, you're not on the microphone, so we need to repeat that.
Oh, if you're currently on the permanent early voting list, you will stay on it, unless you request to be removed, correct?
Okay.
Right, so.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll have fun.
All right. I can't stand it. I have to say it's nice that we can vote federal without having to produce ID. I had to say that. All right. Continuing onward. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Status report by Town Manager Robert Smith regarding town accomplishments and current or upcoming projects. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mayor Marley. I just wanted to mention really quickly that the town of Chino Valley is in full swing on the CDBG paving project. That's a $268,000 project. And our housing rehabilitation project, which is a $270,000 project. We're trying to pull all those federal tax dollars back into Chino Valley and put them to work for Chino Valley. And we've got about $500,000 in play right now.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of brief reports. One is I attended a Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users Association meeting this last week, and they're really looking seriously at desalinization at the industry itself. Yeah, apparently in Los Cabos, Mexico, there is a desal plant which serves 40,000 people. Their main cost right now is their electrical power for the plant, but there's new technologies being developed, and that may be a means of getting some water one of these days. I realize the ocean's a ways off from Arizona, but we can hopefully get involved in some teamwork type projects, cooperative projects, and some of those are being discussed. Also, I attended a GPREP meeting this last week, which is the Greater Prescott Regional Economic Partnership, and they said that our EDA grant should be, those grants will be awarded in July, so hopefully we'll be getting some good news on our request for grant funds for infrastructure at Old Home Manor. I also had just a couple of brief housekeeping items. I got a letter from the Arizona Department of Transportation the other day that said that they will be installing traffic signals and turn lanes in the intersection of State Route 89 and Road 1 North here in Chino Valley. Construction on that traffic light is anticipated to begin, or on that project is anticipated to begin in spring of 2015, and it's expected to take approximately 2 months. So I've had several people speak to me regarding that intersection of Road 1 North and Highway 89, so that will hopefully be good news for us. So, all right, if there's no other reports, we will continue onwards. Consent agenda items. Does anyone wish to remove any consent agenda items? On this side? None on this side? Okay, Ms. Lewis, could you read our consent agenda for us?
6A, consideration and possible action to approve the April 3, 2014 study session minutes. B, consideration and possible action to approve the April 8, 2014 regular meeting minutes. C, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution number 14-1031, adopting a relocation assistance plan as required by the Department of Housing to receive community development block grant funding. And do I need to read D?
I suppose we could.
And then after this, we'll recess to observe Councilman Verwojcik's birthday.
All right.
So hang out for pie.
Hang out for pie. Excellent. All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items 6A through D.
Second it.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll recess for, is 10 minutes okay for you guys before we go into executive session? Okay, we'll recess for 10 minutes, about 12 minutes, and then at 7 we'll go right into exec session. Meeting adjourned for the moment, or recessed.
This is like school, recess.
Yeah, recess. Yeah, it's going to be a 2 candy bar night tonight, but the general plan and the football committee. That's an Easter bunny. They weren't sure.
Is that at 6?
That, I believe, starts at 6. Hang on for a second.
Okay. That's fine, if it starts at 6, that's all you need to know.
Oh, okay.
Like teaching.
You bet. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be a regular 6 o'clock. So, good deal.
Next year, maybe they don't like noon till 11 till 1.
Huh? Cool. Yeah.
openings in May, and in the summer, they start like in July, and that's their first call, and then they start. You should go over there sometime.
Oh, I go there once a week to get wood.
Yeah,
to bring in my wood. Wood shop.
Where's the birthday boy?
I'm with you. This side is okay. I'm not sure about that side.
I've always been so I mean, I'm not doing anything right, you know. So just kind of watch too right, because I am just.
And we worked it out pretty good last night. Actually, how can we pick it up? Donated by our truck. Ruth fired you right away.
Yeah, but if they're in executive session, they have
And they can still be to hear the results. That's been some of the issue.
Good.
Enjoy it?
Well, a lot of people just don't have time. So something goes left.
Then you see them in
But you know, what they did this time for me, is they had Tuesday, I learned the lottery, they said, for my next 2 years, can't do 2, I can only do 4 days. Probably a week, you know. She said it's gonna start off on Wednesdays, I told her Wednesdays she's gonna do me, but they'll work it out, I'm sure. I am. They seem real interested in you with your background and stuff, and I think it'll be a good addition. I don't think they have anyone touching it right now.
Linda? What kind of pie is that? It is banana coconut cream.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Would you like some?
small piece. Yeah. Well, I like to help you.
Who made that? Who made it?
Senior Center.
Oh.
They always overdo everything.
I just think it's, I feel really lucky, you know, to have the and they're really, really interested in the students, and
I like them.
Did you want some?
No, thank you. Not at all. Not my cup of tea.
Smaller? Is that a smaller one? A smaller one.
Not up here. We'll get a second one.
That made my day to get to do that for Elizabeth.
That's good.
She is such a neat kid. to get up and perform in front of all those folks. And her mom has really worked with her.
Yes. See, that was done that way.
Was that, where was that?
That's when I did the Patriot, the low top choir. And normally they go ahead and just try to compress it, compact it, to smother it, but it wasn't smothering, it wasn't going out. So he dumped it in the parking lot where the firemen put it out to load. The truck didn't blow up.
Yeah, good, good idea.
Going against procedure was the right thing to do.
Yeah, boy, that's for sure. There's a shot of her with Congressman Gosar.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
You gonna be a sponsor? Are you going this year?
Going to the
Casino night.
Oh, casino night. Wow. Oh, hadn't planned on it, but.
Oh, come on, it's fun.
Okay.
I mean, I want you to learn, if nothing else, with your tour with me, you can learn how to have a little bit of fun.
Okay, that's true. You are the fun meister, that's for
I mean,
sure.
life is too short to go ahead and be grumpy.
Good for you.
Hey, all right, I'll give you a better offer.
Okay.
Now, the 28th on Monday, the senior center is offering liver and onions. I invite you to lunch.
I'll go to the casino instead. My wife loves liver and onions.
Well, I'll take her and leave you at
Okay,
home.
Sounds good. I have to pass on that.
There's a few of us that really enjoy liver, and our wives will cook it. So I'll have to
I'll tell
invite
Linda
you.
Kay.
But it's always fresh because the liver is rendered here in Chino.
Right.
And once you get enough of it, the town has liver and onions.
Okay, cool. They just, once they got enough, they give them a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty neat.
But it comes out of our own livestock. It's not.
Cool.
So it's usually pretty good stuff. Even if you don't like it, it doesn't taste bad.
Doesn't taste bad.
Because one of our gents that eats with us, his wife comes and she doesn't like it, so she eats all the vegetables and the desserts. And she omits, she says, my husband have double health.
He can have that. I went over to the senior center the other day and had lunch with two interesting old guys. One was a Japanese fellow that came over here after World War II.
Oh.
And, it was really interesting. He was sitting at the same table with a guy that was a World War II vet.
Okay.
And, I thought, what an interesting story. That would be one for the paper to cover.
There's a lot of interesting guys I meet over there at the senior center.
Yeah.
I try to get there once a week, just to go ahead and say hi, or I don't eat, just walk in.
Yeah.
I will eat that on Monday.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to tell my bride about that.
I would.
I'm going to go get some pie before we go in for
Go ahead.
Now, that was the original plan. Now they have way too many. Nope, it was there. So the main house right now, cleaned down the possibility of the but they can't. Is it good? I'll tell you what. The sustainability lady was down here. And then, some of the streets.
Wait.
Senior center, maybe.
They don't have any place for students to stay. You know, I think they tried to work out a deal with seniors.
Do I get to take the leftovers home?
If you want.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, we need the tray back. What's
What's that song? What your party? Well, that was my party. I want to. That's my party. I knew what I want to.
That is the way it went. My party and I'll cry if I lose.
Yeah.
So a lot of things have been up in the air.
It's okay with them. Yeah, just okay with them. And he was, and it's like, me, and I would have postponed these. And one girl,
Not embarrassed.
Good choice.
that's it, you can't do that. This is if we're done, and I told him today, I said, you're never working from home. You're in a situation anyway. And so I stopped them and went through why I did that. I just immediately reacted when they said he was going to fine. When that started, it was like all of the stones. And it just came out that way. Pie doesn't have much sugar in it. I can actually eat it.
And they published
I'm gonna go ahead and try and get them gathered up here.
All right.
Excuse me, can I get her? I believe we're going right into exec session, so. Yeah, I was just gonna tell our council members to wander in. Everybody else can enjoy their cake.
They can eat while we're talking.
Can I get our council members to come on up and everybody else enjoy your pie? Here.
Well, we have to announce it, don't we?
That we're going into executive session?
You have to read it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and read it.
Very good. Well, we're going in, right? Or we
Yeah.
gotta do this first?
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read our executive session item. The council may vote to recess a regular meeting and hold an executive session which will not be open to the public for the following purposes. Pursuant to ARS 38-43103A1 for discussion or consideration of employment, assignment, salaries, or disciplining of town manager Robert Smith. All right, we're going to recess to executive session. You folks enjoy your pie, okay?
And there's plenty more.
And there's plenty.
Go.
Grab one. Go. No, I'm good.
Don, you want a card? Don, you want a coffee?
I don't think there's any left. I'll have one if there's some left. Did you make it? You sweetheart, you.
Good deal.
Oh, I took the last one,
Yeah.
the first pot. Oh, you are good. What happened to all the pie? Did you eat it all?
Of course. No, it's in the refrigerator.
My mouth was watered in there thinking about taking some of that home.
Yeah, take it home. Upstairs. put it
Some
home.
of it, some of it.
Well, you said something, I'm gonna cut you off a piece, but I'll do that afterwards. I'll cut you off a piece.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
So now we're waiting on the vice mayor. Okay. Thank you, chief. Okay. We're back in session from our executive session. And we conducted the town manager's review. Action items. Item 8A, consideration and possible action to approve a 5-year real property lease with Yavapai County Community Health Services for the trailer located at the North Campus, 1951 Voss Drive, beginning May 1st, 2014, for $1 per year and appropriate utilities. Ms. Watts.
Good evening again. I don't really have a presentation. It's a lease we've done with the county health building. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to speak to them. It's up on our north campus. It's a single wide. We've leased it to them for years. They offer a lot of programs to our citizens here. So
You bet. Yeah, the situation and analysis was pretty clean, so thank you. Do we have any questions on this side? No. Any questions on this side?
I just wanted to bring it to the attention that it does say in the analysis report they pay their own utilities.
Yeah.
That was interesting when you first read through it. About 2/3 of the way down, it sounded like the town did, but then when you read back up at the first line, it says that they do it. All right. If there's no further comments, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve a 5-year real property lease with Yavapai County Community Health Services for the trailer located at the North Campus at 1951 Voss Drive, beginning May 1st, 2014 for $1 a year, and they pay the appropriate utilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, consideration and possible action to authorize the mayor to sign a letter to the Yavapai College president, Dr. Penny Wills, regarding the disposition of the Chino Valley campus in the college's 10-year plan. And you will find that item in your packet on page 53 of 133. The letter itself is on pages 54 and 55. While everyone's turning there, I just had 2 corrections to it. One is on item 9, where it says installation of Center Street. I'd like to change that to completion of Center Street, however the council wishes to word it. The Center Street is already partway there, so it would be a completion of it to run it from the Peavine Trail out. The other that I would ask the council to consider is over on page 55, the second paragraph. While we understand the constraints and difficulties faced in planning for today's new normal, we adamantly request, I'd like to take the word adamantly out. We request that they would reconsider their plan. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I like the concept of the letter. Maybe we should stress more something to the effect that part of the new plans would be willing to work with the college, and we'd appreciate an opportunity to meet with her and discuss some possible options with her. And could we contact her or set a date? I think it's essential. That facility, I know I've taken classes out there, has a lot of agricultural facilities, and I've spoken with a number of people. They offer things out there that would be very difficult to move, but we don't want to tell them how to run their business. On the other hand, if we suggest that perhaps we can work together with some of our programs to work with them and put forth some effort, maybe they'd reconsider it. They haven't considered that in their budget, and if there's some way in which we can contribute to keeping it open, we might want to say that and explore the options with them before they assume that they need to shut it down for cost. Maybe there is something we can do to help out with that.
Let me see if I caught the salient points on that. The council would appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and offer suggestions on how to keep the campus open.
I would say to offer some ideas on how the town might work with you to keep
To discuss ideas.
to discuss the ideas on how the town might work with you to keep it open.
Okay. Discuss ideas with you on how the town,
How the town might work with the college to keep the facility
The
open.
town and college can work together to keep us.
Perfect.
that's a good one, town and college.
I know,
You're
I know
not-
we'd get it done someday.
You're not just another pretty face. Okay, town and college.
Oh, God, a pretty face. That
Might work together, okay,
For the benefit of all.
together.
For the benefit of all. I like that.
Miss Lewis, you probably type pretty fast. Did you get most of that? Okay, excellent. I'm still writing on council would appreciate. Okay, excellent. Any other suggestions on changes that we might make? Oh, I would suggest putting it right above the respectfully as a closing, as we're closing out the letter, we would appreciate that opportunity. I think that's, what does the council think? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. We could put it as the very last paragraph. Any other changes or suggestions?
Did you get to the benefit of all?
Oh, I believe you got to the benefit of all, did you not? Okay.
Good.
Excellent. Okay, the chair would now entertain a motion.
Move to authorize the mayor to sign a letter sign a letter and send a letter regarding disposition of the Chino Valley campus of Yavapai College with amendments.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C, consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 14-783, amending the Town Code Title II Administration, Chapter 30, Governing Body, and Chapter 36, Legislative Provisions, and adding new Chapter 37, Elections, related to reorganizing the code for clarity and to update the code to conform to state law with regard to elections. Ms. Lewis, you're back
Hello
up
again. Okay, well, now this is part 2 of the elections issues. And Town Attorney Smiley, please feel free to break in at any time if
Is
you need
this
to
the
add something
amended
to
one?
it.
This is the amended one that she's presenting, but that isn't in our packet.
We placed the amendments in your inboxes this morning.
Okay.
So, yeah, oh, did you wish to say something?
Well, if you, I can add it now, or I can add it after you go through your presentation. There is one change to the ordinance that is in your packet, and it has to do with the date of taking office and the date of selection of the vice mayor. There is a provision in the consolidated elections law that says that the council members will take office in the first meeting of January. I believe it says in the first meeting in January after the election. But that provision is done, it expires with the elections of 2014. So that being said, there is also a requirement in state law that council members take office or meet and select a mayor within 20 days of the canvass of election. So if we put it in January, then that's too late. So we changed what is in your packet to have the council members take office in the December following the election.
in order to meet those requirements.
Right.
Remember
the
what
state.
happened with me? In my first election,
Yes, we had a runoff. Did
we
not?
had in the runoff, there was a little bit of a problem. And it took them a long, long time to resolve it, like about 3 weeks, almost a month. And so if you put it in December, you might be running really, what would happen in that instance? Would you have a meeting without that person, or?
I don't know.
That would
I
have
guess
to
you
be
would cross that bridge when you come to it.
Okay, I just want you to be aware that it's not unlikely that it would happen.
Right.
And it, although in that situation, it had to do with the fact that when the legislature passed the new rules about the percentage in runoff, because what if you have to have a runoff, that may run you into that. But when the legislature changed the law on the runoff, they didn't take out the old section, so there was a conflict of laws, and they had to go back and research it. It's not unlikely that you wouldn't, I guess you flip cards eventually to make that determination in Arizona. So I just want you to be aware that we aren't totally safe by going into December.
Right.
There are always reasons that election results can be delayed, even though we are required to canvass the votes within 6 to 20 days after the election. There are reasons such as recounts and other disasters that befall elections. And I believe that.
Want to make sure that the ordinance is written to cover that. Does it just say December, or?
It says December.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, instead
seeing
of,
that-
because our old code
Because
says June. We had the same
The canvas
situation with
might
the
not
old
be
code.
done until the end of December, so if it says December and the canvas isn't done till December, you might have a problem.
Well, if the election is the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November,
It's early.
then,
But the canvas isn't done until they determine who's elected. And in the case that happened in that election, it took them close to a month to make that determination.
Well,
And
so
should
it-
that happen,
Yes, ma'am.
and if it took a month, then, okay, November 7th to December 7th, you've still got a second meeting. You aren't even at your first meeting in December on the 7th, likely. So you would have 2 meetings in December to possibly do the
Yeah.
installation.
I'm just worried about putting that date in there. You never
Yeah.
know what's going to happen.
Good, I just wanted Ms. Smiley to finish. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
Don't we only have one meeting in December?
Generally.
As a rule, but if we have a catastrophe, we can always have more meetings.
Oh, boy.
I try to keep it to one in December. But that's true. And I would like to commend our town clerk's office for, number one, eliminating all these contradictions with the state laws, for trying to bring us more into compliance and getting rid of some of the old stuff. I appreciate it. The simpler our codes are and the more in compliance with state laws, the less of this kind of stuff we have. So, any
I
further
have
questions?
to give credit to Ms. Smiley for most of that, too.
All right, thank you.
So
Well,
that was definitely a joint effort there.
All right, thank you.
So basically, the town code, we're going to be changing sections in Chapter 30, which is governing body. It's all about you. The subheadings of town council, mayor, and council election. And then we'll be making some changes to Chapter 36, which is currently titled legislative positions, the subheadings for initiative and referendum and petition circulators. As we were looking at the changes that we knew we were going to have to make as a result of HB 2826, Ms. Smiley brought to my attention some portions of town code that were already in state statute and didn't need to be there, or state statute had changed, and I already knew of one or two that needed to be updated, and she found some others that needed to be updated. So as we talked about what we might want to do here, she made a really good suggestion. We had election-related issues in Chapter 30 and election-related issues in Chapter 36, and she goes, why don't we just pull all those out and create one section that was just election-related? So that's what we did. We ended up pulling some of those out, deleting some, and renumbering the other ones, and we put them into the new Chapter 37. So just to briefly go over the changes, 30.003, we're it says January in my PowerPoint, but now that's going to be December, and the ordinance has been changed to reflect December. And so you can see that when we had a general election in mid-May, and then we were seating a new council the 1st of June, we could have run into the situation that Councilmember Hatch mentioned at any time. And you can run into that situation with a challenge, and I do believe there are remedies through the courts to deal with those issues. So that's what would happen. We would be running to Phyllis and saying, okay, find some case law or go set up something with Superior Court and get us out of hot water. That's how elections work. Again, with selection of the vice mayor, that is now going to be December rather than January. And then just there, here you can see what we removed from Chapter 30 and are putting in Chapter 37. The nomination issue was just some minor amendments. It was more stylistic changes. So we removed the section on primary election, the fact that we have a non-political ballot, the general election nomination, which tells you who goes on to the general election, then the general election to office, and then candidate financial disclosure, which we'll also address later. And then in Chapter 36, we pulled out some of our sections on initiative and referendum, the basic power reserved. We can do this with some minor amendments. The number of signatures required, again, minor amendments. But then we deleted the time of filing and sample ballots and publicity pamphlets because it's all in statute. And then we also deleted a redundant section relating to petition circulators and what a qualified elector means, because that is also in statute. And then for the new Chapter 37 elections, Ms. Smiley felt that it was important to have something in the code that basically said when we were going to hold our elections, because there was nothing in there. So she basically put this in, that we're going to be having our elections in conjunction with our state, county, and federal time frame. And then this one, the election of mayor or council member at a primary election. This is what's going to be a little bit different, and it may change again with this our current legislative session that's about to end. Previously, when we would have our election, as you are all aware of, because you're everybody that ran last year, we ran into this, you were elected at the primary because you took the total number of votes and figured out what that percentage was, that majority, and all of you got 50 plus 1% of the votes. You were able to be elected outright at the primary. It's only when you don't get that 50% that you have to do the runoff. Well, with consolidated elections, now we have the issue with there may be people voting in this election that don't vote for you at all. They vote for the federal ballot, they vote on the state ballot, or they may vote on the county, but they don't vote on you on local issues. So it could really keep that ability to be elected at the primary from ever happening, because the numbers are just too skewed. So the legislature came up with this interesting solution of taking the number of votes for the mayor and applying it also to the council seat. The fix that may be coming up is a simple fix of just taking all of the votes for the office, so taking all the votes for the office of council, averaging it out, and anybody that gets that average plus one is elected. But for some reason, the legislature is saying, yeah, we'll put it in there, but it's only for this next election. For some reason, they don't like it, but we'll see what they do next year. It seemed like
Could
so
they
this
make-
may even
People
change.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Sometimes people don't vote for a particular office, and, you can look at the percentages last time, and you could see how many people didn't vote for a single candidate mayor versus how many people voted for council members,
Right.
and there was a big difference. So
Right.
I'm not sure.
So
it
this
should be-
thing, yeah, we're not sure how this one's going to pan out either. But again, this may change. We're going to put it in the code, but if the governor signs this new thing, we'll be coming back for an amendment with that one too. Is that correct?
That is correct, and it may actually go into effect prior to your next election, because none of you are up for election in 2014.
Right.
Your election will be in 2016. So We may have all the kinks worked out by then, hopefully.
We're hoping.
Yeah.
We are hoping. And, did someone else have a
No,
question?
he crossed his
Oh, okay.
fingers.
This section on the power reserved for initiative and referendum, this last sentence that is deleted, isn't deleted, it's just reworded here. So Ms. Smiley took this section and just made it a little clearer as to when the referendum or initiative can be put on the ballot, and what your options are, because the council has 3 options as to when they can place these on the ballot. And, that was the end.
Okay, thank you.
So-
Any further questions for Ms. Lewis on this side? No. Any further questions on this side?
Okay.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
Move to adopt ordinance number 14783, amending the Town Code Title II Administration, Chapter 30, Governing Body, and Chapter 36 Legislative Provisions, and adding a new Chapter 37 Elections. Say that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution 14-1028, extending the terms of the sitting mayor and council members to comply with ARS S16-204 as amended, related to consolidated elections. Oh, okay.
Do you want my laptop with it? I have the staff report here. Staff report is on what page? 80? Page 80.
You swear and ask. Government at its best.
All right, this is pretty simple. Okay, this is the one for financial disclosure.
No, it's not 80, it's like 70 something.
73. 73, Jamie.
73.
Okay, let's see, we already know why we're doing this. So because we have to adjust your terms, and we were not allowed to shorten them, we have to lengthen them. And so what we are going to do is extend Mayor Marley's term so that it expires when his successor assumes office following the 2016 election. And we are extending Vice Mayor Crofts, Councilmember Best's, and Councilmember Turner's terms so that they expire when their successors assume office following the 2016 election. And extend Councilmember Hatch's, Councilmember McKee's, and Councilmember Wojcik's terms so they expire when their successors assume office following the 2018 election. Again, we're just memorializing what the law has already told us we have to do. So.
All right. Any further questions? All
It's a
right.
5.5-year term.
Yes, yeah, we were kind of in the worst position for that because of having our election in the spring of odd-numbered years. We get stuck with the longest change.
You ready?
All right, I'm ready for.
Move to adopt resolution number 141028, extending the term of sitting mayor and council members.
Second.
Well, long time before we got a second on that. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
We're
opposed,
tired.
same sign. Okay. Financial disclosure, item E, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution number 14-1029, prescribing standards of financial disclosure for local public officers. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. As you know, when you're a candidate for office, you have to file a financial disclosure statement, which is primarily for, it's not related to campaign finance, but this is primarily for conflict of interest issues. Then, each year that you're in office, as you know, come January, you have to file another annual statement for the previous year. What also happens when you go off the council, in our old cycle, when you left the council in June, 6 months later, you had to file one for that partial year that you were on the council. Well, now that with consolidated elections, we had some people, some elected officials taking office in the very first week or two of January, and it just seemed kind of silly to have them be in office and a whole 12 and a half months later or so have to file a financial disclosure statement for that week or two they were in office. Now that you are going to be seated in December, you'll just be done when you're done. You'll be done in December, and then come January, you'll file that final financial disclosure. But what this law allows council members to do is to file their final financial disclosure with the previous years, so they don't have to do it a year later. So it really doesn't apply to us now that you're not going to be seated in January, but just in case something happened that your seating was delayed till January, it's now on the books, and basically we took the financial disclosure of resolution number 94 and just cleaned it up a little bit, reformatted it, and put it into this new one. So that is the only change in the whole resolution, is just that if something happens that you're still, or anybody who's still on council in January but leaves in January, if you leave office before January 31, you can file your 2 years financial disclosure statements at the same time. It just makes life a little easier.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Did former Vice Mayor Tenney know about this? Because I remember when he came in 6 months after he'd gotten out of office and had to fill out his paperwork.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even hard to find. You know, you remind them before they leave, don't forget you have to do this, and then they move out of state and don't leave a forwarding address. And luckily, I've never run into that, but I'm sure it's happened.
Okay,
so
cool. Any questions? Any questions? All right. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move to adopt resolution number 14-1029, prescribing standards of financial disclosure for local public officers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item F, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution number 14-1030 in support of legislation to impose tax on facilities growing medical marijuana.
Mr. Mayor, I prepared a little bit of a presentation to bring the council up to date on some of the brief history of the laws.
Go ahead and you lead.
This is just a really brief summary, if you want to hit the next slide. Some of you may have heard the word hemp used interchangeably with marijuana. Some of the statutes indicate that hemp is the stem. You also find with hemp that it's a little bit, doesn't have as much THC as regular marijuana. They're both the same basic plant. It's just when you get down to the species and carry it on, it changes, and that's something you need to know. Go to the next slide. Between the 1600s and 1890s, the domestic production of hemp was encouraged. Go to the next one. In 1937, Congress passed the Uniform Marijuana Tax Act, and it criminalized marijuana, restricting possession to individuals who paid an excise tax for certain medical and industrial uses. That was in effect until there was a Supreme Court case in 1970, and you'll see that later on. In 1940, during World War II, the U.S. government encouraged the production of hemp. Go to the next slide. And then you have several acts in there where they developed, Narcotics Control Act, and so on and so forth. In '69, it was Leary versus the United States that part of the 1937 Tax Act was ruled unconstitutional, and in response to that, Congress passed the Controlled Substance Act, which repealed the 1937 Act by action. And you can see the different responses to that. In '72, Nixon was directed by Congress to determine, by a committee to determine personal use of marijuana should be decriminalized. He refused, but in the '70s, 11 states did decriminalize it. In 1973, there was the Drug Enforcement Agency. In '86, there's an Anti-Drug Abuse Act with mandatory sentences. 100 marijuana plants receive the same penalty as 100 grams of heroin. This is the federal law. Later, 3 strikes, they required life sentences for repeat drug offenders and the death penalty for the kingpins. Go on to the next slide. And then came Bush's war on drug, and California was first to legalize it. We go to the next slide. Part of what really concerned me, and having been aware of this for some time, if you read on the medical marijuana blogs, one of the big concerns is how growers are often targeted for theft, and that was taken fairly recently from what that blog said. And go to the next slide. And here, February 5th, 2013, part of an article said, inside the suite of a nondescript industrial park in West Phoenix, an armed security guard in bulletproof vest guards dozens of tents filled with lush plants that supply medical marijuana patients throughout the state. I'm going to go to the next one. And here's one where they quoted how they had been robbed down in Phoenix, and that they had to call the DEA and the local police in. And that's just 2012. Our situation here, let me go to the next slide. What the state does is they try to keep the locations of these places kind of quiet. However, you can see the Verde Independent published the location earlier this year of one of the facilities. I actually know the reporters. So, you know, there's no guarantee that it won't become public. And my concern is you know, eventually those things could become a burden on our law enforcement. And we're not receiving any tax benefit, as those are taxed as agricultural facilities. Let's hit the next slide. Here's the current federal tax legislation, and believe it or not, although they're illegal under federal law, there is a section under which they should be paying taxes as a farm. And this applies both to the sales facility and the farm, and they aren't allowing them to take any deductions, but according to Forbes, sometimes they get around it by generating, having a different business on the same property. There are all sorts of recommendations about how to do that. I don't think there's any, are there any more? Yeah. No, one of my biggest concerns here is, you know, pharmacies and other businesses in the area are paying us some sales tax, and the sales tax on medical marijuana goes to the location that has the facility selling the pot. So what I would like to encourage is that our state legislature actually consider in some manner, shape, or form helping us out on the burden that not only us, but other locations. We're probably one of the few that has a lot of, many more medical marijuana farms than we have facilities that sell it. But that's what brought this to my attention. You have in your packet the information on some of the other locations. I think you have Seattle and some of the others that are now ignoring the offset that farms get when it applies to medical marijuana. It seems to be a growing trend in other states. In Colorado, they're not giving farms the exemption that other kinds of farms have. Again, that's what brought this to my attention and my concern.
Okay. For the, thank you. For our audience at home, I wanted to read just briefly our situation and analysis to get them up to speed, and then the resolution is fairly short. We'll burn right through that, and hopefully our audience at home will know what it is that we're proposing. Situation and analysis. During council's strategic planning sessions, one topic discussed pertained to working with the state to impose a tax on medical marijuana growing facilities. Councilmember Linda Hatch and Mayor Marley are proposing that the council adopt a resolution and forward it to the League of Arizona Cities and Towns as well as to the state legislature. The sale and cultivation of medical marijuana is now legal in Arizona, and facilities growing medical marijuana are now located in many Arizona communities. Such growing facilities are considered by many citizens to be a soft target for criminals, increasing the workload for local law enforcement and thus impacting municipal expenses. As no tax revenues to municipalities are generated by the growing facilities to offset the increased expenses, this resolution will indicate the council's support for the legislature to introduce and support legislation taxing medical marijuana growing facilities. And as Councilwoman Hatch pointed out earlier, the dispensaries are already taxed. This is for the growing facilities themselves. Marijuana growing facilities, and that such taxes be provided to and used by the municipalities in which such facilities are located to help offset the strain on the resources and infrastructure of those communities in which medical marijuana growing facilities are located. As Councilwoman Hatch indicated, we have that increased burden on our law enforcement community, so we are in the resolution pointing out the fact that we desire those taxes to be coming back to those communities where the grows are located. The resolution itself it says, whereas the sale and cultivation of medical marijuana is now legal in Arizona pursuant to Arizona law and regulations, and whereas facilities growing medical marijuana are now located in many Arizona communities, and whereas medical marijuana growing facilities are considered by many citizens to be a soft target for criminals, increasing the workload for local law enforcement and thus impacting municipal expenses, and whereas no tax revenues to municipalities are generated by the growing facilities to offset the increased expenses, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and common council of the town of Chino Valley, county of Yavapai, Arizona, that the mayor and town council of Chino Valley, Arizona hereby request and urge our state legislators sponsor, introduce, and support legislation taxing medical marijuana growing facilities, and that taxes on medical marijuana growing facilities be provided to and used by the municipalities in which such facilities are located to help offset the strain on resources and infrastructure of those communities in which medical marijuana growing facilities are located. And then the rest is basically boilerplate legal stuff. Be it further resolved that all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict with the provisions of this resolution are hereby repealed. Be it further resolved that if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this resolution is for any reason held to be invalid or unconstitutional by the decision of any court of competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. And I hope that we touched all the bases on that. As I said, we want folks to understand this is, it's not attacking the medical marijuana industry. It's simply saying there's an increased strain on our infrastructure, and we would like to see something in the form of a tax to offset that. We're urging our legislators, we're not writing the legislation, we're urging them to please consider this. Is there any further questions or discussion from our council?
That's very good.
Thank you. Any further from our council?
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay.
Okay. I move that we adopt resolution number 14-1030 in support of legislation to impose tax on facilities growing medical marijuana.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There's only one other motion to be made. Mr. Wojcik?
Birthday boy. We adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Well, so moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting